Hello and welcome to Yes, You Are Brave. This is a podcast where we're going to set off on a journey together to find and build our brave, where we explore all the ways that you have been brave and all the ways that you can be brave again. Because even though we may have forgotten or we may have fallen out of practice, we're all brave. And I'm on a mission to prove it and help you believe that yes, you are brave. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Yes, You Are Brave. I'm Pawnee, your host. Let's talk today about being brave enough to pause and plan the pivot. Now, I realize that sounds odd. Welcome to the podcast with Pawnee. It always sounds odd. It always sounds weird. But allow me to explain. So I don't know if you have all seen, I expect most people have seen the scene from Friends where they get halfway up the staircase with a couch, right? Ross decides he doesn't want to pay to have it delivered, so they carry it like 2 or 3 blocks, and then they're halfway up the stairs, and he keeps yelling at them to pivot, right? Because they're trying to go around this corner on the stairs, and it just doesn't work. Now, what does that have to do with being brave? What am I actually talking about? What I'm talking about is taking some time so that we don't end up halfway up the stairs and with no way to actually get the rest of the way up the stairs. Take some time to plan and to reassess as our life changes. Because life is always changing, always shifting. And we make plans and we move forward, and then something happens and it becomes necessary to stop and to adjust those plans. And I think sometimes it's tempting to just barrel through and be like, oh no, I made the plans, we're gonna make them happen. But sometimes we have to stop and we have to adjust. So I want to talk today about that pausing, that adjusting, that reevaluating, or planning the pivot, right? Because sometimes a little bit of planning, a little bit of pause, a little bit of thinking about things clearly, we don't end up halfway up the stairs stuck. We can make adjustments and we can make changes and we can actually get through things a little bit better. So that being said, when we take time to pause, we take time to adjust our plans. First thing I want to talk about is there is no shame in taking a moment to adjust, to figure out, to learn what it is that we need in our new life circumstances. Okay. Nearly a year ago, I got married and my life changed. So drastically changed. It's been better, changed for the better, but it has completely changed. It's completely different, and it has taken me a hot minute to adjust. Just part of the reason that the podcast was so sparse into 2024 was just that there was so many things going on and so many things I had to learn and figure out. Combining your life with somebody else's is a process, and it's hard and it's difficult and it took some time. So it's okay and I've really struggled because if you know me, you've been around a while, I'm really hard on myself. I tend to be very, very difficult on myself. And it's been something that I really, really had to put some effort into it's okay to be soft and to be gentle with myself as I learn and grow into this new role. I have never been married before. I have never, put my life together with somebody else's. I've never had to do all of these things before. And so it's okay that it is taking me some time. So I want you to think about as your life is shifting and changing, and I don't know the specifics about your life and how it is changing, but I would be willing to bet that there are things that are shifting, that are changing in your life. We all have things that are shifting, that are changing, whether it's in our professional or personal life. And I want you to ask yourself a few questions about how can you be more gentle with yourself. As we shift, as we change, we seem to think that we should just be able to hit the ground running and in whatever we do, because sometimes we've been that way before, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes we really do need to pause. We really need to think about, is this going to work? Are the plans that I had do they still apply to my life? Is that still what I want? We need to take some time to be gentle with ourselves and not just demand that we know exactly what to do and how to do it and we just hit the ground running, because that's not always feasible. Next question is, what kind of break do you need? Seriously, what kind of break do you need? What is it that's going to make it so that this is not so overwhelming? And if, do you just need a long vegging weekend where you have a weekend and you plan nothing and you just stay home and you spend some time with Netflix on the couch, or you sleep in late? Or do you need a weekend away with your friends, or a busy traveling weekend? What is it that you need? What kind of break do you need? And then the next thing is, sometimes maybe you're thinking, oh, well, maybe there aren't things. Like, I didn't just get married. I didn't just get a new job or whatever. But what are the new things in your life, or the new circumstances that are causing you the most stress, anxiety, and or overwhelm? Okay, so think about it. Stop to think about it. Sometimes we don't stop to think about where the stress is coming from, where the struggle is coming from. And so as a result, we can't actually give it the attention it needs, and we can't resolve it. So what about it is giving you the anxiety, the stress, the struggle? Okay, what is it? And then how can you bring that into a more manageable place? Because a lot of times we're tempted to just avoid the difficult things, right? But there are things in our lives that we cannot avoid. We can't walk away from them, at least not for good. And so what is it we can do to bring them into a more manageable place? Also thinking about, is this situation likely to occur again? I told you I got married. One of the biggest struggles for my husband and I, most constant struggles, is neither one of us is super excited about food. We both love food, but we also get tired of figuring out food. And I'm sure if you have a family, that this is a very, very constant struggle. And we argue about whose turn it is to decide what we're having for dinner. So also one of the questions is this thing likely to come up again? We have been sitting down on like the weekend and decide, okay, what are some meals that we can eat next week? And we kind of prep for those meals. And so instead of like, oh, we have to come up with nothing, we have a list instead of like, because it does, every night we have to have dinner, right? We have to eat every day, and it gets annoying. But when we have a list, okay, yes, this is going to come up every single time. So we have a list, and it's like, okay, instead of what do you want for dinner? What do you feel like? It's like, okay, do you want lasagna or tacos or tiki masala? Like, that hasn't solved the problem, but it's seriously helped. So also remember that when these new situations happen, sometimes we don't react as well as we could. Some of them are going to happen again. And sometimes that's because we reacted badly, or sometimes it's just they're just going to happen again. So if you have something in your life that's new or difficult or whatever, and you're not sure how to handle it, or maybe you didn't handle it as well as you could have the first time, take a minute and do some troubleshooting for the next time, right? Because as life changes, the reoccurring stress also changes. So you get used to something, you figure it out, and then guess what? Something else happens. You get new in-laws and you figure them out, or new coworkers and you figure them out, and then somebody leaves, or you have an evolved or a changed relationship with your siblings. So for next time this new thing happens, what can we have in place to not be so overwhelmed? Also, how can you prepare for this situation to handle it in more of a way that you want? So there's some situations that we handle them not nearly as well as we would like. So what can we do next time to handle it better? I know that this happens a lot when I am honestly at work. Sometimes I just lose my patience with some of my students, and it's not the best. So I have to stop and reflect, okay, when this happens next time, or when they come in tomorrow with the same problem, because they come in every day with the same problem, how can I react better? And what would you change about this time? What have you learned from this time that's going to help you handle it better next time? And so those type of questions I think are good, especially as we're going through new territory, new things. We're all just kind of fumbling along. So I would also recommend that you be kind and patient with yourself, and realize that. Just accept that, you know what, I'm going to handle some things not super great, and that's okay. Also, as you are going through this new phase in your life, whatever it may be, process of getting the new couch upstairs, what are the things that you feel you need to help right now? So yes, it's all well and good to have things, troubleshooting for the future or all of those type of things, but what do you need now? Do you need help from certain people, from family or friends, or from a professional? Maybe you do need some help from one of those people. Maybe you just need rest. A lot of times I think we need rest and we don't take it, we don't give it to ourselves. Do you need some new knowledge, some new skills to help you with this new set of challenges? Or do you need, just some more resources? Whatever you need is fine, but be honest with yourself about what you need. And really, if you need help from people, from your family or your friends or your spouse, or even a professional, right? Whether that is, maybe you really just do need to hire the professional handyman, the professional plumber, because you have tried and your sink still leaks. That's fine to hire the professional. Or maybe you do need to go see a therapist or a counselor or a doctor. Be honest about the help that you really need so that you can start to move in the direction of getting it. Also, remember that in any new situation, a new situation may very well require new skills. And don't be afraid that you might need to know or do things differently, because new situations require new skills, require new things. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Also, I want you to remember there was nothing wrong with your plan. You had a plan, and I'm sure it was a great plan, but sometimes life just changes. And we have to adjust. And and our plans need to adjust. And doesn't mean we didn't have good plans. I had a plan to build myself a little tiny house and live in a little itty bitty tiny house with a tiny dog. Well, I wasn't planning at that point on finding somebody and getting married, but now a tiny house is totally out, because I would be fine, I think, living in a tiny house by myself, but with two people, I don't think it would work. So, just remember, there was nothing wrong with your plan, but life changed, and now you need a new plan. Also, like I said, doing something you've never done will require new skills and new habits. And you may or may not have those new skills or those new habits. But be patient while you develop them. You can develop them. You're perfectly capable of learning and growing in any way that you need to. But it is going to take you some time. That's the thing to remember, is that you can learn anything, you can do anything, but it is going to take some time to get to where you are proficient in that particular thing. But you can do it. You can do it. You're perfectly capable, and all it takes is a little bit of time and determination and some patience with yourself. As we kind of wind down here, I just want you to know it's okay for life to shift and for it to change. And it is going to shift and it's going to change. And sometimes it's for the better and sometimes it's not. But it's also okay to reinvent yourself for each one of those situations as you see fit. Okay, it's okay that as you take on a new role, you move to a new place, you get into a new relationship, that feel like you need to reinvent yourself. You need to do things a little bit different. I'm not saying changing yourself for other people, especially in a relationship, but being in a serious committed relationship is going to require some skills that you may not have had previous. So you choosing to reinvent yourself is perfectly fine as long as it's not. So it's okay to reinvent yourself for the situations that you find yourself in. But remember that it is you choosing. It's okay as long as it's you choosing to reinvent yourself for the situation and not people forcing you to be something that you do not want to be. You get to choose who you will be in this next chapter of your life. Because spoiler alert, guess what? You're the one writing your story. You're the one that's writing your own story, and you get to decide how it goes. You get to decide not always what happens, but you get to decide how you react to that, what happens. Remember that. You're the one with the pen, you're the one writing, you're the one that gets to decide. Also, you don't have to be who you've always been or who people think you are. Can I say that again? for the people in the back, you don't have to be who you've always been or who people think you are. You get to decide who you get to be and what you want out of life and how you adjust to this next new thing. But please be patient with yourself and take time. Plan that pivot. Don't just charge up the stairs with the couch, because there's a very good chance you're going to get stuck. If at any point in that scene in Friends had Ross admitted that he couldn't get the couch up by himself, he might not have lost the couch in the end. But just remember that you're in charge, that you get to do it. And there is no shame, there is no problem with taking time that you need and taking time to plan and readjust your plans, because life is going to change. Things are going to happen that are unexpected, that are maybe good, maybe not, but they're going to happen, and we're going to have to adjust our plans. Doesn't mean the plans weren't good, just means that we now need a new one. So you can do this. You're wonderful. You're amazing. You can plan the pivot. Take the time. Pause. And be the you that you've always wanted to be. That's really what it's about. So I hope that this has been helpful for you, that you maybe gotten some permission to just pause a little bit, reflect on where you're at, especially those big changes in life. Don't think that you have to be doing it all amazingly well right off the bat, because that's not necessarily realistic. But you can develop the skills and the talents and all those things that are needed for this next chapter in your life. You've got this. You're wonderful. You're amazing. And you're brave enough to plan the pivot. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed what you've heard today, please leave a review down below and share this with anyone that you feel like could use a little more brave in their life. And if you'd like to follow more of my journey to be brave, you can follow me on social media and the link down below. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to be brave.